South Africa hasn't got that many business heroes at the moment. I remember Rob Hersoff at one of our events saying, "Where's the Harry Oppenheimer of today?" Well, I'm not sure that Neal Froneman would call himself the Harry Oppenheimer of the current era, but he certainly has been outspoken. He speaks his mind. He's made some huge contributions to the country and indeed internationally. He's regarded as one of the world's best miners. We're talking with him today about a different topic, where to South Africa. Neal, of course, is the man who was the first chief executive of Sibanye, a company which he's grown or helped to direct and guide as chief executive into one of the world's leading mining producers with operations all over the place now. We can talk about that, I hope, a little later, Neal. But for now, we're looking local. Today, you're not at the meeting of somewhere between 10 and 15 CEOs. Business Day tells us we're meeting with Cyril Ramaphosa, but you're very involved in this whole operation where South African businesses are saying, let's help the government to address the socio-economic challenges of South Africa. Now, there are two sides to the story, which we'll get into in a moment. But what drew you in there? This is not really your scene, being an entrepreneur who's growing a multinational business.
Yeah. You know, and even worse, Alec, the workstream I've been asked to co-chair with Jannie Durand is on crime and corruption. And I am a real layman when it comes to the judicial system. Obviously, you know, business is founded on good ethics. I understand the issues around integrity and corruption, but when it comes to law, I'm a real layman. So it's not because of my skills that I got involved. I suppose when they asked me to assist, my contribution was that, listen, what I do know how to do is develop strategies, and if I'm surrounded by, let's say, experts in an area, I'm damn sure that we could develop a good strategy, and I know how to mobilize people, get people motivated, and gain traction, and that's really, I suppose, what I came to the party with. And you may say, why? Well, you know, I think where most people are today, I was here 2 years ago. I called South Africa a failed state long before anyone called it a failed state. And yes, I hope it doesn't fail, but I actually see the opportunity now, because there is a more receptive government to make a difference. We can make a difference. You know, 2 years back, government was very anti-business. And listen, I'm not saying today they've turned over a new leaf and they're pro-business. I think they see us as a necessary evil. I'm not naive. I know that it's going to be a tough challenge. But you can't sit on the sidelines and just see it all fall down. I think crime and corruption and the work streams we're working on are issues that need to be done, and irrespective of who's in government, we still have some serious problems as South Africa. And I would go as far as to say that there needs to be a lot of leadership changes. I don't look at one person as a problem. There is a need for serious change in South Africa. So it's not that I've suddenly become somebody different. I'm still very concerned about the trajectory. I've spoken about economic growth and being investor friendly. Those are still issues that have not really been addressed. And I don't think that ideology of the current government and growing the economy actually go together. So there's some serious change, I think, in the offing. I think the other thing is, I do think there's going to be changes, very significant changes in leadership anyway, come the next election. And if we are smart and business shouldn't get involved in politics, but business got involved in politics when apartheid had to change. And I think the situation today is as serious as it was back in the 90s. And business has to become more involved in politics. So the fact that I'm putting a lot of effort into crime and corruption doesn't mean that I've suddenly seen something different. I just think it's time that I can put something back into making a difference, and let's try and be on the right side of history, and let's not watch it all go to wreck and ruin,
Well, I'd like to pick up on that in a moment, but first, how has it been? You're not a time waster. You've got a South African police services that many in the population believe are incompetent or worse. Are you having any support from them?
Yeah, Alec, it's like everything. You got to be careful to generalize. There are good people, in the SAPS, in the NPA, in all these bodies we're working with, and there is a real commitment to make a difference. And now, listen, there's a lot of people that are not committed to that difference, and I think that through proper processes we'll weed them out. But I see willing. I've met with a number of generals in the SAPS, and there's a real willingness to make a difference. And there's some really basic things that I sense are not in place, that are not too difficult to put in place. It's almost administration that is lacking. The basic administration of business, whether it's business or government, are the things that make organizations work, which is really where we can play a role. I'm not sure that we businesses got a lot of money, but that's not government's got money. We pay taxes, and they should contribute what we pay into the right things, and of course a lot of it's getting stolen. So I mean, the sooner we stop that, we can become more effective. But yes, the simple answer is I do see willing people, and it's very unusual for the private sector and organizations like the NPA and the security cluster to actually work together. So we're still trying to find each other, but I'm confident that with enough time, with enough talking, we will establish trust and credibility, and realize that many of us are actually just trying to achieve the same thing.
Well, putting you and Jannie Durand, who's from Remgro, onto this particular line is actually taking two guys who aren't going to be terribly diplomatic, who are going to certainly say things as they are. Have you, when you say you haven't found each other, have you at least had meetings with Tele and some of the other people in South African police services, and indeed with the people at the NPA?
Yes. So we've had we've made very good progress on we've got, sorry, let me start at the top. We have two main legs to the crime and corruption initiative. The one is a judicial workstream, and that is supported by the minister, and there's been very good progress made with the NPA. They are a solid organization. They lack capacity, and through a number of fairly simple things, I think we can add science and technology, forensic data analysis, and all those things that would help them do their jobs. We obviously are very sensitive to their independence, so this becomes quite a difficult sort of way of interfacing, because they have to be independent. They have to do what they believe is right and set the priority. So we can't influence them. But on that work stream, and Jannie is primarily focused on that work stream, there's good progress, and I have no doubt that with a bit of time, they will become more effective. But I think that that they say the wheels of justice grind slowly. It'll take some time to see the results, because there are processes and things to go through. I'm more involved on the crime prevention stream, and there we cut across intelligence, policing, and so on, priority crimes. Now, for us to, with limited capacity, relatively speaking, to make a difference, we have decided to prioritize our focus on syndicated crime. So, in other words, although we have, let's say, the Eyes and Ears program from Business Against Crime, looking at things like car theft and so on, what you want to do is you want to get to the kingpins. The kingpin, it's not the person that steals the car in the parking lot. You want to get to the person that's coordinating all this. And whether it's car theft, whether it's illegal mining, whether it's illicit financial flows, whether it's tobacco, counterfeit goods, whatever it is, we've got to aim for the top, because as I know from my experience in illegal mining, arresting 1,000 illegal miners makes zero difference to illegal mining. Those are just the pawns in the game. So we have a strategy that is going to use both the judicial system, is going to use clearly policing, but what we have not done in the past, Alec, and this is where I think this is different to what's been done in the past, is business has a number of levers that we have not coordinated well and pulled those levers. When you start combining the risk work that's done by the banking sector, what's done by the mining sector, what's done by the Consumer Goods Council, and you combine all this information, we're not allowed to call it intelligence. When you combine all this information, we have a whole lot of data that is very meaningful, and that if used properly, we can disrupt these syndicates. We might not be able to quite put them in jail in a short period of time, but that process will follow through with proper legal processes. So I remain confident that we can achieve a lot, and with our counterparties in government, we can achieve even more. But we are very focused on making a difference, even if we get stonewalled in certain sectors. Say,
Neal, I'd like to get your thoughts on the two approaches. The one is from Anthea Jefferys, who has written a superb book, Countdown to Socialism, where she unpacks the National Democratic Revolution, which is the blueprint of the ANC's economic strategy. It was formulated in the Soviet Union in the 1950s. And she says, you guys in business who are engaging with government, helping government, are actually just playing according to their priorities, that they'll take a step backwards, and then when things look better, they'll toss you out. That's her view. Then you have R.W. Johnson, who says that South Africa is being privatized by stealth, and that even with the best will in the world, the SACP, ANC, National Democratic Revolution protagonists cannot turn this back. And in fact, the country is already moving in a direction where it's too late for them to implement the Soviet-style policies. So the one side, Anthea is saying you shouldn't be working with government. The other side, RW, saying, well, there's nothing much really that government can do because things have changed. How are you viewing both of those? Because they're pretty strong points of view.
Yeah. So I would have said 2 years ago, I don't think we would have had, much leverage. And I do think that, we were put in a position where we were told what we wanted to hear. I think you've seen of late many business leaders speaking out, frustrated. But deep down, I think government knows they've failed, and I think deep down there are changes coming. So getting tossed back out is in my mind is unlikely to happen. I just think it's a bit like a business going into business rescue. You can watch it collapse, and listen, I've done both, and you can step in when it goes into business rescue, but you inherit a mess. You inherit a real mess, and normally there's a lot of value destruction in that process. On the other hand, I'm a firm believer in what I call stakeholder capitalism. I think the capitalism of the 60s and the 70s, when some of these ideologies that you refer to in the Soviet Union were developed, I'm not that type of capitalist, and I don't think that type of capitalist or that type of capitalist system will flourish in today's world. Not even in America it won't flourish. But stakeholder capitalism, and you talk of a democratic revolution, socio-democratic revolution, where you have to share value, and it's not about socialism. It's about a fair way of making sure that everybody benefits, especially in the resources sector, where you're using natural resources. Communities do have to be uplifted, and everybody has to benefit, and you have to recognize those people that put in money on risk, and listen, that's become my job, and my management's job is to, in a fair way, distribute value to our shareholders, to government, to communities, to employees. So I do not see a model other than the one of privatization. It's clear that the competence within society, if I can call it that, and I do want to come back to civil society in what we're doing, but the competence at this stage lies, and the capacity lies, within the private sector and civil society. Now, the one part I haven't spoke, Alec, if you don't mind me just mentioning, is that our crime and corruption initiative is not just business and government. There are some seriously good civil society groups out there, the OUTAs, and many others, Corruption Watch, and with the president having given us the visibility of these work streams, we are embracing them. So this is going to become much broader than just business against crime. This is going to be civil society against crime. And I think civil society is fed up with what they are seeing in terms of service delivery, in terms of this never-ending corruption that's taking place, these very bad political decisions, and that's what gives me hope. There's going to be real change quite soon, and I think we should all step up and actually help that change to happen. It's desperately needed.
That's extraordinary that people like Wayne Duvenage at OUTA, I'm sure Paul O'Sullivan at Forensics for Justice, the Helen Suzman Foundation, who've been batting on for years and years and years, are now getting recognition at the highest level. That's a big change. But you say you're hopeful, Neal. What makes you hopeful?
Yeah, listen, I just see people. South Africans are unique in a way, but I see people that are realistic, are mature. As a company, we are also sponsoring Bobby Godsell and his initiative to get voters to vote. Not telling them who to vote for. That's not that's not the business of business. But I think that even those that have no hope are going to be wise enough to vote. They just won't vote for the current party because the current party has let us all down. And I think that that coupled with the fact that there is this recognition of the private sector making a difference, is just the start of a new wave of we got to help ourselves, and if we are smart, we'll see a leadership change come through, and maybe it's a coalition, but there'll be very strong opposition, and I think we got to help it happen.
You mentioned, just to close off with that, things have really moved in the last 2 years. I remember last time we spoke, it was 2 years ago now, that you applied to get a 50 megawatt project, just a 50 megawatt project off the ground, and you were turned down. You were told you couldn't. Then you applied for a 250 megawatt project, and last time we spoke, you said you were waiting for that. Have you got any updates on what's happening at Sibanye, the paucity of energy or electricity that we have in this country, and things that you can do to overcome it?
So we have made good progress, but this crime and corruption is deep rooted, Alec. You know, no sooner do you get over, let's say, an approval hurdle, and then somebody steps up with a land claim just where you're going to build your solar project. And you know, that's the culture that's developed in the country, and it's, you know, the way you change culture is you've got to change behavior, and it's got to start at the top. But the whole system is in need of an overhaul. But to answer your question, we've made good progress. We've signed up the biggest wind farm PPA in South Africa. I think it was 275 megawatts. Our other projects are in the pipeline of being approved. But we've also stepped out as a company to look at generating energy or electricity from gas coming out of Mozambique in a way that it will be beneficial for the entire grid. I mean, of course, it will help us, but it is also an initiative to help South Africa. But I want to say that the energy workstream, which has been running for about a year now, has really made good progress. So where you have common ground, and you know, Eskom doesn't want to be a failure. I think government realizes that their political ticket is very severely damaged by the load shedding issues. So there's a willingness to work together. Where you got that common ground, and safety in mining is another area where you got common ground between organized labor, business, and government. But in the energy sector, in the energy workstream, they've really made good progress. And you know, other than a little bit of disappointment around Kuiberg, I think you will start seeing load shedding decrease from next year. And I don't say that on hope. I say it based on facts that I see and I hear. We are also, and listen, this is the amazing thing about South Africa. We are transitioning like no other country in the world to a decentralized energy system at a rate of knots others can only dream of, because we're not going to have a major central energy supply, and that's a complete new economy. So yeah, there's some amazing things happening in that area as well.
Well, a message of hope at the end there from Neal Froneman, Chief Executive of Sibanye, and I'm Alec Hogg from BizNews.com.